Okay, so this third season of the Owl House is underway, and it'll be a few months before we see the next special. For some reason, I don't know, maybe it's just not done. I just wanted to give my thoughts on it. I still quite like the Owl House. Not as much as I did in Season 1. Those of you who watched my podcast on Season 2 with Michaela and Ginger know that I was rather critical of Season 2. Season 1 was like 6s and 7s across the board, while Season 2 was 10s and 1s. I think the Owl House is one of the most engaging stories a TV show's had in a long time. Some very strong characters in Luce, Willow, Ida, Camilla, Gus, and Rain. It has one of the first truly good cartoon villains in a long time. I especially like how the more you learn about him, he becomes less of a menacing figure and more of a pathetic old man that just needs to die. And it has like the best LGBT rep in a modern cartoon. But particularly in Season 2, it's started to show cracks. It introduced way too many characters that ultimately don't matter, which is weird given the fact that Season 2 was coming off the tails of the show being shortened. Some of them work. Rain was crucial to the plot, good bit of character work for Ida. Darius was a fun presence as a fake villain and even more fun as an ally.
Rain whispers, you'll regret what you did to my clothes!
And your treachery, whatever.
I'm going to set you down. Please try not to bite anyone. We talked about this. You promised.
AKA...
I did not agree to this name!
But then you've got Terra Snapdragon, who shows up multiple times, and you think she's gonna matter. She ultimately doesn't. She's just kind of the monster of the week for like 2 episodes. The Golden Guard, who spends like the entire season being bolted onto other characters and wastes about 5 episodes kind of circling the drain.
So Venti Wenty wants to keep sleeping. What am I ever going to do with you?
And then there's the Collector, which I'm not sure what they're going to do with them. They're mentioned in one episode, they're a weird pawn in another, and then break out to supplant the main villain in King's Tide, which doesn't really work, because we've had like 2 seasons to really want Bellows to be splattered across a wall, and then he does, and now here's another villain we've just introduced before the very end. And like, the Collector's a kid. Like, he's a 12-year-old on Minecraft creative mode.
Oh look, I have wheat. You're gonna get to eat the wheat. Psych, in the hole you go.
So I don't imagine that he's gonna be a villain that's fought. I imagine he's just gonna be this thing flying around, getting in the way of stopping Bellows until Ida reads him a bedtime story or something. It's hard to look at this and not see wasted time, honestly. The counter to any criticism of Season 2 is that they had less time because they got a shorter 3rd season, but it does feel like there's a lot of things that should have been on the cutting room floor, you know, kill your darlings and all that. But hey, that's not an insurmountable problem. Season 2 was still good. It was just could have done with a little more trimming. Just a little bit. Season 3 opens as I expected it to. It's kind of melancholy, but overall upbeat. I feel like there's this false notion among the fan base that the Owl House is a serious drama, or has become a serious drama, but the show has largely maintained a positive tone. It only really gets dramatic for like the end of a season or a mid-season hiatus. Ultimately, like, this is a character-focused show, and the first special is all about them. Particularly while the rest of the gang is working on a solution to a new portal back to the Demon Realm, Luce is moping about the fact that Bellows tricked her back in the past, and thinking the rest of her friends are going to hate her for it, which we've kind of done several times. Like, Luce continues to dwell on mistakes that aren't really her fault, thinking that people are going to hate her, and they never actually do. Like, even Hunter just says that after the secret comes out.
What? You were tricked. That's what Bellows does. He tricks people. But if it weren't you, it would have been someone else, and then there'd be no one left to fight back.
Which, given that Hunter already knew about Luce's time travel shit, he probably should have said that a while back. Then again, despite Dana clearly liking him, the story largely treats Hunter as like an afterthought. The thing is, this was a compelling story the first time. This is the 3rd time she's done this, and surprising nobody, everyone sees Luce as being a victim in that situation, of having been manipulated and betrayed. This cycle's starting to reflect poorly on Luce. Hell, Amity has to explicitly tell her that she has to stop lying to her, especially after having already had this conversation. Like, just stop lying. Stop lying to your family. See, with Luce constantly keeping secrets and hiding how she feels and doing all this subterfuge, the end result is that Luce doesn't get to have any character until she opens her mouth, which results in a lot of... what do I call it? Character loitering? Yeah, there we go. Her character arc is loitering around, waiting for the point where it can jump forward before loitering around again. And it was like this at the end of Season 2, where like Luce just won't talk to anyone, does some stupid dangerous stunt, and then has to deal with the consequences of that, and then does it all over again. Hell, she abandons everyone to risk her life to fight Bellows, and then when they catch up and have to go through the portal to the human realm, she sacrifices herself again. And what are you achieving by doing this? What's the goal here? She almost martyrs herself at times. Even now, when she realizes she keeps messing up and hurting the people she loves, her resolve isn't to stop messing up, it's just to isolate herself from the people she loves. And like, Isolating herself from the people she loves isn't gonna stop them from loving her, and so her absence is just gonna hurt them even more, especially Ida and Amity. At the end of the day, this is poorly thought out. It's very irrational behavior. Oh, look at Lily complaining the characters aren't acting 100% rationally. Yeah, it's egg on my face. My point is, we kind of know where it's going, so it's not as compelling as Luce actually having to confront her own behavior. All that time spent moping and sulking could have been spent going, hey, Luce, why the hell did you try to sacrifice yourself back there? What was that about? You had me worried sick. Don't ever do that again. I just feel that given that Luce is the main character, her growth shouldn't be such an afterthought. The only other characters who get a lot of real focus are Camila and Hunter. Pretty much since season 1, Camila's had an uphill climb. The fandom was very quick to just make a lot of racist headcanons about how Camila was abusive and Ida needs to adopt Luce, which were bad faith to begin with, but season 2 immediately started beating those off with a sandal. Camila is shown to be very loving to her daughter, encouraging her creativity, and even having been rambunctious like she was when she was a kid. And indeed, much of her actions in season 1, particularly sending Luce to camp, was centered around trying to make sure Luce wasn't bullied like she was. Admittedly, this was all implied in season 1. The idea of never going home was never once in Luce's mind, and when she gives up the portal, she whispers an apology to her mother, and in season 2, her mother's wisdom ends up being a source of comfort for her. It's always been very clear that the relationship between Luce and her mother is very loving and positive. This wasn't something that needed to be reinforced, but it was largely for the sake of the red baseball caps and the cheap seats. Also, seeing Camila be sweet with her daughter is just good overall. Luce even comes out to her, which I always thought was strange because I genuinely thought Luce was already out to her. In yesterday's lie, we see a buy flag on the fridge, but I guess it's Camila's. Moving on to Hunter. Hunter's major arc in season 3 is self-identity. He's anxious about telling the others that he's a Grimwalker, which is kind of a false lead. Hunter being a Grimwalker is treated like it's important by the show, and the fandom treats it like it's the most shocking revelation. But him being a clone is kind of pointless. He's not a witch hunter, and in fact it's revealed that Bellus's anger about witches is due to the fact that his brother ran away with his hot witch girlfriend. So there's really no reason for Hunter to continue keeping this secret, and it wasn't much of a secret anyway. Fine, you're literally a piece of wood with a frowny face drawn on it. We could tell just by the way you acted. Hunter being a Grimwalker always felt like just a, well, I guess that's a thing we know now. And the rest of his story is about finding his own identity, which is a subtle nod to the fact that he's had no character arc despite his overexposure. Amity, Willow, Gus, and V don't get to do much. They're the ones everyone is keeping secrets from at the end of the day, but that's fine. I think Amity's character arc is complete. She's already overcome everything. She has a girlfriend, her relationship with her father is improving, she's cut her mother out of her life, she's found a better support system. Yeah, I'd say she's done. Amity's character arc was kind of like Ida's, where every episode that she appeared in, she moved forward a significant amount, she moved to the next milestone. Kind of wish they would do that with Luce, but hey, whatever. She gets to slip into the role of emotional support and firepower when it comes time to fight the final boss. That's fine. Amity's always been a supporting character to Luce, so she works where she is. The Owl House fandom tried to assert that Amity was the real main character for a while, but the show's never reinforced that. She's responsible for sidelining Willow and Gust in the past, but she's never managed to sideline Luce. I think maybe only one episode has her sideline Luce, and even then they used Luce not being able to be honest with her girlfriend as a plot device for that. Plus at the end, she echoes Luce's line about the future from when she asked her out, which I thought was really cute. Amity's now able to just see right through her girlfriend's lies, and she can tell that Luce was considering staying behind. I think Amity is the only character I have no complaints about, and I think that's largely because her story wasn't that deep. At the end of the day, she's just Hermione with mommy issues and a writer who isn't woefully incompetent. Once they stopped pretending this character was an antagonist, she slotted into the group pretty easily. I like her a lot more than I did in season 1. As for V, I've never had a whole lot to say about V. She's cute. I like her. I'm sorry, I don't have any interesting thoughts on V. She's just good. I love her little pumpkin sweater. Also, she's got a crush on Masha, who I also like but have no interesting opinions of. In general, I like the special. I think it was a good resetting of the board because the fandom got a little crazy during the hiatus. Admittedly, with it back, it's a good way to temper my expectations. One problem a lot of people have, including myself, is that the fandom can kind of color your thoughts on the show and regarding certain characters. Admittedly, I'm harder on Hunter as a character than I should be. He's just a dull character. He hasn't really done anything wrong, but the side of the Owl House fandom that only likes angsty white characters really fixated on him, especially after Amity turned out to be a dork. And that kind of made Hunter feel more intrusive than he really was because of resentment towards assholes in the fandom made his presence more annoying. Less hating the character and more what they represent. Hunter has the baggage of being the 100th character that's just kind of copying Riku, and my position as a critic means that a lot of repetitive tropes are going to annoy me a lot faster than they annoy other people. I think this is a marked improvement for him, honestly, because he actually meshes with the entire entire group. Previous episodes would have had him kind of steal the spotlight from other characters, which was really fucking obnoxious. Same goes with the tone. Like, listening to the fan base, you'd be forgiven for thinking the Owl House was some kind of dark drama where every episode Dana finds new ways to traumatize you. But the show's tone has always been relatively lighthearted. Drops in the tone for certain episodes are treated as more dramatic than they are by the fandom. This also comes down to the way the fandom treats the show like it's plot-driven. Lily, what the fuck are you talking about? It's a little reductionist, but most stories are either plot-driven or character-driven. In a plot-driven story, the character is used to view the plot. The things happening are the primary focus. But in a character-driven show, the plot is used to develop the characters. The Owl House is a character-driven show. It's episodic, most of its stories are centered around the growth and development of the main characters, and the plot bunnies exist for that and that alone. The Day of Unity is an afterthought until the 3 episodes where it becomes relevant and serves as a vector to develop Luce, Ida, Amity, Rain, King, and Belos, and how they relate to one another. I said back in season 1 that I suspected Belos would be a foil to Luce. Somebody who came to the Boiling Isles with expectations, couldn't accept them for what they were, and sought to change them. I was mostly right. Belos more sees Luce as another Caleb, somebody who was bewitched by the Isles. That's why he keeps sparing her life and trying to send her back to the human realm. This is the kind of thing I like about certain villains. When you learn more about how they think, they don't become more sympathetic or complex, they actually become less of that. Belos kind of reminds me of Xehanort, where at first you don't know why he wants to open Kingdom Hearts, but then you learn that he wants to purge the universe, rebuild it anew, and rule as dictator, which some people mistook as him being a misguided good guy, but that's media literacy for you. Belos is kind of like that. He could have been anything at first, but now he's just a white guy doing colonialism. He's basically Christopher Columbus, gets lost in a mysterious land, slaughters the natives, is asshole. All of this serves as a foil to Luce, who represents everything Belos fears about witches influencing humanity. You see how deep the character work is embedded into the story? Like, this is a character-focused show. That's a good thing. It's why the show is so good. Overall, season 3 is looking out to be really good. Just a fun, ass-kicking good time. Hopefully Luce is over her shit and can be a fun character again, but if she's not, I'll only dock like 3 points for that. Anyway, I gotta go, bye!